Like our job is to be on top of the tech. You know, we're not just your website guys. Like we are going to be your marketing partner to make sure that we keep you advanced for as long as possible. ChatGPT, or I don't even know what you'd call it, like chat SEO or AI SEO is going to start becoming a big thing. It's like, how do you start showing up higher in these results when people are actually looking up for you? So that's going to be a big thing of just making sure that you have a lot of content, like a lot of genuine, authentic content out on your platforms online there.
What's up, guys? My name is Brandon, the contractor coach, and we are on episode 4. Today, we have Chris with Blue Collar Marketing. Super excited to have Chris on. Chris is one of the educators inside of our community. He is providing all the contractors inside of our space with the best website in the industry. He has over 600 contractors or businesses in construction that he provides this same service to. Super excited to have you on today, Chris. We're just going to shoot the shit, talk about your business, and I'm excited to hear about what you're doing, where you're going, and yeah, let's dive into it. Tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on here, Brandon. Always pumped up to chat with you, buddy. But yeah, so my name's Chris. I am from bluecollarmarketing.ca. We are a full service digital marketing agency, very focused on websites when it comes to the trades, construction, site work, dirt work, excavation, landscaping, plumbing, electricians. We cover the whole scope when it comes to the blue collar industry, and very much just try to be the best agency when it comes to this space, man. Like my business partner, myself, Wes, we started a property maintenance and landscaping business in university. For about 3 to 4 years, we ran that just because, well, I couldn't get a job, man, like anywhere. So I was like, fuck it, we got to start something on our own here, and ran that for about 4 years. Then realized pretty quickly, like the only way to really get ahead of some of these legacy companies was through digital. We didn't have the buying power. We didn't have the name. But one thing that we found people were slipping up on was their digital presence and online presence. And that was something, especially around like that 2015, 2016, 2017 era, was getting very popular. So we found that as like a great opportunity to kind of get our business name out there, start actually getting some real clientele and expand our business. With about 3 years, built up a really nice kind of client database, had about 40 guys under us, including salespeople, laborers, administrative, and then sold that off when we were finishing up university. Basically, we're like, you know, didn't know what we wanted to do. I had no clue. Wes was studying for his, I think like CFA or something like that. And I still had no idea what I wanted to do. Like for when I took business here at Queens, I didn't really specialize in anything, and no, I didn't want to, you know, go into something boring like accounting or finance or something. No knock on accounting and finance, but for me, just not my style at all, not my cup of tea. So yeah, one day I was like to Wes, man, like, why don't we just try and start something up again? He was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. Rock and roll, directly on board. And that's when we started an agency called Imperium, which was very general. We served a whole bunch of markets and almost made like the same mistake we made with our landscaping, our property maintenance company. Like we were offering too many services, was very, very hard to scale, and very similar to like our third year in the property maintenance business where we really niched down into like service offerings. We did the same thing with Imperium, which is now Blue Collar Marketing. So launched Blue Collar Marketing about 2022. Directly focused at the trades, people we like dealing with, an industry that we know very, very well, and what works and what doesn't. And now we're up to about 15 employees. As you said, Brandon, man, like we manage just under or just over 600 websites for contractors across the US and Canada, and do a whole bunch of other services too as well. But definitely love it, enjoy it, and the sky's the limit. We're just trying to be, again, man, the best agency in the space that can kind of dominate some results for our guys there.
No, I love that, man. And that's the cool thing about your business is that it's very specific. It's targeted on contractors. And that's kind of why we created the community. Ultimately, at the end of the day, was like we saw a big need for specific services for just contractors. Like the things that contractors need for their websites are completely different than what a restaurant needs and, you know, what a barbershop needs.
100%.
And so what's unique about your business is you're seeing probably a lot of repetition on deliverables and requirements for contractors so that their websites stand out. And so what do you think? Like, I have 2 questions here and they don't really connect together, but I want to hear about your first website that you worked on when there was like this aha moment where it was like, oh, we're fucking dialing in on contractors. I want to hear about like that website specifically. And then like, what are the trends that you're noticing that are allowing your business to kind of differentiate yourself from other website companies just for contractors?
100%, man. Yeah. So good question, man. Like the first one here in terms of like that first website we did, very much again, like to your point, man, like we were doing websites for everyone at the beginning. Like when it came to like the Imperium side, spas, doctors, lawyers, electricians, honestly wanted to blow my brains out, man, was just not fun at all. Like did not care about the industries, was very tough to teach a technical team, all the different nuances of what worked there. And then we just started getting a lot more trades people in there. So like I think the first trade site we did was for our boys over at in Ottawa there, WRC Contracting. Great guys, Blake and Moose there. And we're like, wow, this is actually working really, really well. Like we still get texts from Blake about how he's getting jobs from his website there on that side. And then once we kind of dialed that in, we were like, okay, there might be, an actual untapped need here. And like how we didn't think about this when we had the success that we did with the landscaping or property maintenance business. We're kind of like, this was almost too obvious. But the thing that really clicked it together, I think, was the website that we did for Ken White Construction. Also in Ottawa. Like we very started like locally when we were just trying to grow it out, see what the touch points were. And that was one website that we still get comments and praises on and people coming in through the door. Like that was when we could kind of combine a company that, was a legacy company for a very, very long time. And they just wanted to uplift their image and like really kind of take on this new branding that one of the owners there, Taylor, was starting to kind of push through. And then we went full scope into that, man, just really pushed into it. Made in a dialed careers section, which was huge. Got like their SEO really taken care of, which was also great. And then just in terms of the design, like I think we really did a good job of like putting their values, their history, their goals, like right onto a website. So that when you get onto the site, customers, subcontractors, employees, potential hires know exactly like the vibe of the company and if it's for them or not for them. So that was kind of like the moment when we realized like this is the space to really, really go after, because we started getting so many referrals from that website, not even like through our ads or through us like reaching out directly, like just with our name being in the footer, like blue collar marketing website. Like people really started to appreciate like, oh shit, like I actually really do need a dialed in online presence to start competing with some of the bigger guys in the space, or guys who have been in the space for a long time, kind of kicked them in the ass and be like, oh shit, like we actually have to take care of our online presence there. So that was like a big kind of wake up moment. And off the kind of the cuff or the topic of like careers pages, I think like one thing that differentiates us from like other agencies in the space or just like general agencies in general is, contractors have very specific sets of problems, especially when it like comes online. Like it's not like a restaurant or a lawyer or a spa or a doctor where you typically have like just direct to like B2C or B2C, sorry. With contractors, you need to be well marketed, not only for potential customers, but we all know, Brandon, especially I imagine, better than I do here, man, hiring is a big, big problem when it comes to contracting, getting like a reliable flow of people that not only are good and fit your vision, but also too that are, just not lazy and just not messing around all the time. We want to make sure that we have a website that attracts not only customers from like the service standpoint, but also to potential employees. Then also at the same time, like subcontractors. And then moving even further, residential and commercial and civil are very different like markets with how you kind of display yourself. So I think like what really sets us apart is we really tapped into like, okay, like how do each kind of subsects of these markets for contractors want to be appeared? And let's build like kick-ass sites that kind of cover all of this so that when our guys are wanting to move into commercial, wanting to move, maybe back into residential or, put out like a hiring blitz to get some guys in, they're going to be fully prepared. So the nuance of most of our team, virtually all of our team have like blue collar backgrounds, as well as just the amount of customers that we serve, the problems and issues that happen across contractors. It starts to become, as you said, man, very systematic, very repeatable. So when we build out digital assets, when it comes to websites or other forms of like digital marketing, we know exactly now, what these people need to be successful. So Ken White Construction, WRC Contracting kind of really set the foothold for what we now do for across all of our clients. And then I think like in terms of those value prompts, in terms of appearing to those different markets, really kind of sets us apart in terms of like what contractors actually need. It's not as simple as you're a landscaping company and you need to show off that you know how to cut grass or you know how to dig post holes, or you know how to excavate a property there. Like we really want to make sure that you're fully centered on not only a customer standpoint, but you're a great place to work for. If you're going commercial and civil, you're super reliable and you're going to be cost performance or price sensitive there on that side. So just kind of those nuances, man, I think like establishes as like a front runner in this space right now.
Right. And that's kind of what I interpret when you work with a niche down business like yours. For people that are listening, to give you kind of concept, like the handyman, let's call it, and I work with a lot of handymen. They solve problems. But the handyman that does like a tile backsplash periodically, on a Tuesday and then doesn't do a backsplash for another month and a half probably isn't going to be that good at doing a backsplash, if I'm being completely honest. The guy that does a backsplash or tile installation every day consistently over and over again is going to get specific tweaks and reps inside of his process that will refine and allow him to deliver just an exceptionally better product at the end of the day. And
100%.
your business is pretty much the exact same fucking thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Where you're getting these reps, you're seeing these patterns that the other guys don't even get the opportunity to see because they don't get enough reps in the space to really fully understand what people need. I remember my first website. I owned a company. It was a garage customization company. I also exited out of that, and we did garage floors. And there was this websites were like, this is fucking probably before you were born. I'm not that old, but pretty old. Dude, I paid 12.
Manual garages, man. Yeah, there we go. The garages you open by hand by
no, it was floor coatings. It was resinous coatings. This was like maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. Started this company, did really good. It was right when the dollar was like par. It felt like, honestly, felt like it was drug dealing. I was making so much fucking money doing garage floors alongside still doing construction, but I paid 12 grand for my website. 12 fucking grand at that point. And that really was the only presence that existed. Yeah. Social wasn't really a thing. I got the yellow pages, like that big ass phone book. They're calling me, hey, do you want to spend all this money on, the phone book? And I was like, man, look at the pizza fold here. They got a center page.
Yeah.
Like, they're paying like 20, 30K for this center fold in the phone book. And I'm like, this is just fucking ridiculous. Like, I don't want to spend this kind of money for a book. I was like on the table of considering the book, not doing the book, considering the book, not doing the book. I will be honest, for a short period of time, I was in the phone book.
Yeah, there you go.
For a short period of time. And then I was done at that point. But I went all in on my website. I really focused at that point. It was about SEO. And I don't know a lot about websites and that kind of stuff, but visibility was everything. And getting recognized and categorized within Google was dictated based on, your SEO. And you could do this through blog posts. And so one of my executive assistant at the time was actually a really good writer. And he was a fucking smart dude, like double business major. He taught a blind guy how to get through university.
There you go.
This guy did a lot of shit. But he would write a blog post almost every week. And so we had like hundreds of blog posts. And we got so specific that we actually listed all of our competition, every single one of them, their name, their phone numbers, their address, their email, pictures of their projects. And we buried that inside the website. And what ended up happening was that we were found everywhere, literally fucking everywhere, to the point where some of the competitors actually called us to tell us to pull down shit from our site because we were overpopulating on top of them. Just because we had their content. So what is the most important thing now? Because obviously that's a long time ago, right? The Google monster, that's what I would call it, has obviously evolved. And so what's the most important thing to get recognized, and how do people stay on top of that? Like, not a lot of people have a double business major teaching blind guys, also, writing blog posts every day or every week within their business. What can they do to just continue visibility?
100%, man. That's a good question. And when you look at like SEO, like SEO has changed a lot over the years, man. Like what used to work really, really well still works in essence, but maybe just not as powerful as it does like now in terms of like what's really popping out. Because people started really hopping on the SEO train, and like Google's like, okay, there's a lot of people trying to game our algorithm. We need to make it a little bit more difficult. So a lot of the things that worked in the past, man, still work, but just at a lesser degree. So how I like to really like talk about SEO, it's not like one specific thing that gives you the best results. It's the combination of doing a whole bunch of things right that's really going to kind of push the needle. So when it comes to like Google, man, the biggest thing that Google cares about is that people stay on the platform. At the end of the day, how Google makes its money, at least on like the website side of things, Google search side of things, is through either ad revenue or just keeping people on the platform. So when you're building out and gearing up a website for yourselves, man, like a website's going to be the foundation of your business when it comes to an online presence, whether you're running a Google ad, a Facebook ad, a radio ad, everyone typically is going to look you up afterwards, and it's going to go right to your page, and they're going to make that second or first impression, man. So when it comes to building out like a website that's going to perform for you, number one, you want to make sure that it's highly specific and relevant to what people are searching for. So many times, like I will see people's websites and they'll be like, let's say it's a renovation contractor that focuses solely on like kitchens and bathrooms. You will have like, a really nice looking site, but it doesn't say a location in there. It doesn't say service areas in there. So Google really only thinks them as like just a kitchen and bathroom renovation company in general. The way that you really start like pushing the needle is like putting in content on your website that is hyper specific, hyper relevant to like what people would search. If I'm, looking up to learn about bathroom renovations, I might type in bathroom renovations and then I'm going to get a bunch of information. But if I'm looking to hire someone with like commercial intent, and let's say I'm in Miami, typically I'll look up like bathroom renovations like Miami or bathroom renovators in Miami. Those are the type of words and keywords, which are basically a fancy word for like what people search, that you need to have in your website. So if you are an excavation contractor out of Iowa, right on the big splash hero image of the website, that first screen, it needs to say like excavation contractor in Ohio, your company name, and then a little blurb about you. Google needs to know immediately what you do, where you do it, and basically the services that you offer. So you need to make sure that when people come onto your website, it's very much like answering those questions there. So that's like the simplest way in terms of making sure that you're hyper relevant, hyper search specific in terms of your site. Other little things too as well. We've chatted about this, Brandon, like making sure that you have a very like fast and optimized website. Like it's not 2005 anymore where we can have websites on shitty servers that run slow, that, it takes 5-10 seconds to load. With TikTok, Instagram, and all these real specific 6-second form content, man, like people's memory span is like the size of a walnut. Like they just have 3 seconds. If they're uninterested, they're just going to get off your website. Google will start realizing if people are bouncing off your website, it's not answering their immediate questions. So you want to make sure that when people get onto your site and let's say you're installing septic systems in Ottawa, you want to have, septic isn't really super sexy, but you just want to have like equipment showing on the first screen of your website of like septic installs or septic repairs or septic maintenance, septic repairs in Ottawa. All these like questions need to be answered within like the first second of appearing on your page. That's like the biggest thing when it comes to like the foundational part of like your site, making sure, again, you have the right content on there, answering people's questions specifically. It loads up nice and fast. When it comes to like ongoing SEO, blog posts are great, still super, super relevant in terms of like making sure that you're getting a lot of spread. But you want to really think about like how you're releasing blog posts to the public. No longer are the days where you could do like best 3 tips in gardening. Like no one reads that. No one cares. No one's going to your specific website to learn about gardening tips. What actually matters, especially I love doing this for like industries that have like a lot of red tape. So septic, utility companies, excavation companies that people aren't really sure of the process. This is where you can really come in and, release content or SEO or blog posts on your website that explains like, this is what it takes to, do an excavation project in your area, like in your residential area. This is the type of regulations that are going through. These are the type of hoops you have to jump through, like things that actually people are going to read and learn about. Cause like, that's what a lot of people are actually searching up is like, if I want to put a pool in my backyard, do I need permits? Do I need to do all this stuff? If you can have that information laid out and the person found your website explaining the process, and then the bottom of the page, when they read the article, it now says book your pool install. They're much more likely to go to the expert than now trying to search and find another person there. So having like educational content that is, not spam blasted, not just kind of basic stuff that really kind of talks about current problems is going to help you out a lot.
Not to interrupt you with that, but like we talk, or I teach a lot within our community about, being constant and active on social, primarily Instagram for us. And inside of our messaging, it's about how we're solving problems.
100%.
Right, for clients, which ultimately would really be great SEO, technically. And 100%. So is it unlikely, or is it not a thing, when people are posting their content on, let's say, Instagram, and it cross promotes to Facebook? Is there a way that you can develop some type of zap that extends the same post onto their website and includes the same caption that would work as that constant update of SEO on their website? Like, could they use that information that they're putting out there as that constant update, or do they still need to do a blog post?
100%, man. I think the more the merrier. And then kind of going back to that first place, like the first point there, I think you want to do as many options as your time will allow. And like, a lot of these guys are also running the business on top of it. So they might not have the time again to like write blog posts all the time. Luckily, we have a lot more tools, and content prices has gone down with like AI, obviously being smart with the content that you write with AI there. But to answer your question, man, there are like Zapier, Make.com, Tegromat, like there's platforms that you could do that pulls the post on Instagram and then posts directly to your website. It does depend on what type of website that you have to make that easy. Like WordPress makes it very easy. There's plugins that can do that. It makes it simple.
But will it scan the caption as well? So
yeah, like those are all fields and stuff. So like depending if you're using a plugin or if you're using a Zap, like those things are all, not incredibly difficult to put into your website. Also just great to have like what I really believe in, like people will say like, can I just embed my Instagram into my website? Yes and no. Like, yeah, you can for sure. It's a great visual piece, but like adding extra content to it and having like a visual portfolio that like has it on its own separate page where it's talking about a project or its own little post is going to be much more beneficial than just having like a grid there. So even with like taking it one step further, let's say they have a website, but they don't want to pay a developer to integrate Instagram with their website. Like it's as simple as like posting your, giving the link to ChatGPT on for Instagram and then being like, can you help me create a blog post for this? Modify it so it's your tone, your language, and then post it to your website. So now rather than taking, an hour to transfer it to a blog post, because it takes me forever to write stuff. Like that is not my gig. That's why we have a content writing team. ChatGPT makes it a little bit easier, and then just making sure that it's going to be still your voice, your message, and your writing there. So definitely good because, people like to be active, and you want to make sure that you don't do a shotgun approach where it's 10% quality across, 100 platforms. So like using that cross posting technique is a good way to get high quality content across all of your sites there. And then the one other thing, man, like outside of blog posts, informational posts, another really great way just to make sure that you're showing up. And you kind of basically did this, but in a different aspect when you're like going after like competitors, because people will look up a company, and if you can start kind of populating their search results too, like you're in a good spot. And then they contact you and say like, too bad, so sad, man. Like this is not illegal. I'm just talking about people's companies. Like there's nothing really you can do in terms of what
I was actually promoting their companies.
Exactly, man.
In the blog post, I was like, yeah, I'd highly recommend that if you're interested in, potentially this service, that you should talk to these companies as well. And I just buried it, so obviously nobody could find their content.
Oh yeah.
But they pop up on this effective.
Big time, man. It's like you just want screen real estate, right? So like that's like on competitive landing pages, which are awesome. Another great thing that's easy to do that you don't have to like have a huge variance of content is like locational based landing pages. So again, if you're in a big area, let's say you're in, what's one that I know the boroughs a little bit better, like Toronto, like you're an excavation contractor. Toronto's huge, has a whole bunch of different boroughs in it. Like, yes, you're an excavation contractor in Toronto, but you're also probably an excavation contractor in Scarborough. You're also probably an excavation contractor in Durham, in Oshawa, in Whitby, in Ajax. If you just have pages on your website, it doesn't need to be in the main menu, but in the background that just says you do these things. When Google has someone that's searching for an excavation contractor in Ajax, your site's been running for a while, it has a pretty good strong SEO presence already, and you release a page for excavation contractor in Ajax per se, you're a lot more likely to get that customer. And also too, you're answering that customer's specific question, which is an excavation contractor in Ajax. That's what they want to see. They don't want to see someone in Toronto because to them it feels far away. They want to see someone like locally right around them. So like stuff like that to keep very spread out. Like SEO is all just like a spread game. You just want to be everywhere and anywhere. It's a long-term game. But you want to just populate it as many possible ways: locational based, educational based, competitor based. Some people get really niche in terms of like the offerings. If people are doing like an electrician, generators is huge. Like they'll release generator specific ones, whether it's repair, maintenance, educational resources on that. So yeah, just having like a nice spread and like very powered up content that answers very specific questions is going to be the best thing for your SEO.
Right. Okay, I want to dive into something. You touched a little bit on it. I'm fucking addicted to this shit. But ChatGPT is changing everything very quickly for everyone. We're building a bit of a secret project software that's super exciting. Hope to be launching in the next couple months. It's an educational tool. But in addition to that, like yesterday, me and my admin have been working on some custom GPTs that we're publishing and that will be throwing live inside of the community. And they're like the contract writing machines based on like we've inputted a bunch of different systems into it. We've got an estimating writer. We've got all these different tools, and they're going to be live inside of the resources in the community. But I'm not going to lie, dude. I haven't fucking been on Google in a long time. Like I don't even open it up anymore. I literally just go to ChatGPT and ask it, what should I do today? Literally.
Yeah.
So my question is like, on one of the other calls we had, not with you, I don't think specifically, but they were like, yeah, you got to be visible on ChatGPT so that people, it's ultimately going to be the next search engine. How is ChatGPT organizing and populating its content? Because I don't know what's going to happen with Google, in my opinion. ChatGPT just keeps growing and going. And maybe Google owns ChatGPT. I don't fucking know. I don't know on that end. But how do we get our websites visible on ChatGPT?
100%. No, I love that question, man. I nerd out on fucking when it comes to like these AI programs, man. So that's an awesome question, man. Like the trend right now, man, is like everything is pushing towards AI. I don't think that Google would cannibalize their main money driver, which is typically like Google search. But even like you'll pop it in, man, and like now we get that thing that's like AI overview, where it almost like answers your search term and your search query even before it shows like search results. It's very clear that like a lot of these bigger companies are realizing there's a shift with how people are searching things up. They said the same thing about like voice search too as well, that it was going to take over and everything was going to be voice searched. The key component to all of that, regardless if people are searching on ChatGPT, on Gemini, on Claude, these are all different like LLMs or AI powered chat bots there. The one thing that is always going to be true is that there has to be like a source of truth that it pulls from. And for right now, that is always going to be the internet as of now, unless they come up with a new internet that is internet 2.0. Like I remember, was it the trend of like VR internet? That didn't really go too well. But for right now, it's still Google search. It's still Yahoo. It's still Bing. Like these are where people are putting content, putting out their local listings. That's what ChatGPT uses to scrape. That's what Bing uses to scrape their AI bot. That's what Copilot uses to scrape the information. Gemini, Google. So the key of like making sure that you're not falling behind is like you need to use you need to make the best of what you have right now, which is still going to be having a website that clearly explains exactly what you do, has a lot of content on it. And this is why the importance of blog posts, locational landing pages, because you want to give these crawlers, which would be like ChatGPT, Gemini, so much information. So when people like search something within your area, they're going to be overwhelmed. Like the bot's going to be overwhelmed to like put your information out there. So as of right now, man, like making sure that you're just very visible on what right now is like the source of truth for these bots, which is the internet. Like that's where they scrape and train themselves and learn on that stuff, as well as directories, databases, making sure you're on Yellow Pages, the Better Business Bureau. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not the phone, but like the online thing that people like are searching up databases. You know what I mean? You got to make sure that you're there so that when these bots do scrape it and like someone does search in ChatGPT, you're going to have a much more likely, chance of showing up. And this is going to be cool because like the next thing we're kind of looking at BCM, like just keeping an eye on, because like for us, like for our partners, is like our job is to be on top of the tech. We're not just your website guys. Like we are going to be your marketing partner to make sure that we keep you advanced for as long as possible. ChatGPT, or I don't even know what you'd call it, like chat SEO or AI SEO is going to start becoming a big thing. It's like, how do you start showing up higher in these results when people are actually looking up for you? So that's going to be a big thing of just making sure that you have a lot of content, like a lot of genuine, authentic content out on your platforms online there.
You could, not that we're talking about business ideas. I mean, I guess kind of are, but I know this is going to be for everyone. But I mean, you could start it first. So these custom GPTs, have you ever created a custom GPT before?
Oh, big time. Yeah, we have like either the custom ones that are pre-trained, or we have like multi-automation flow bots that do certain things there. They're fun.
Yeah, so you could create some type of tool that helps people create their own organic blog posts instead of just putting it into ChatGPT saying, write me a blog post for X, Y, and Z. It would be great if you could build something like that. But it's good that you're looking further ahead, because a lot of the people that are intimidated or upset with ChatGPT are the ones that are going to fail. My son actually, and I might have talked about this before on a couple other episodes, but he ended up getting a 0 on an assignment for school because the teacher said, well, I scanned it and it said that 100% use ChatGPT. I was like, great, you should get 110% then, shouldn't he? because
Yeah,
like he's
man.
ultimately using the tools that are advancing, his perception of the information.
Oh yeah.
And what was crazy was like they were like, no, we don't use this at all. We don't encourage it at all. And I was like, man, like it's no different than the fucking calculator.
I was
Like,
gonna say, man, it's the calculator thing all over again, man. Like they
yeah.
have to learn a different way of now. It's like it's back onto teachers, not to get political with teaching and stuff, but we have to now teach kids differently now. It's like we don't have to keep writing down long division on paper
Well,
anymore.
we
We can
have
use
to
a calculator.
we have to keep the student. We're teaching. Like, I teach people in my community. I'm not going to teach them shit that doesn't advance their business,
For sure.
right? And so the same thing with the student. It's like, we have to be able to teach them the tools and show them the tools. Anyway, fucking going down a different path, talking about websites. Now we're talking about school and teachers and all kinds of other things. I love what you're doing with your business. The first time I saw one of your ads where you and your partner were in there swearing and shit, and it was just
Yes,
like
sir.
these are real dudes. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
sir.
They
Yes,
can
sir.
relate with contractors, and
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, I think that's part of what differentiates your brand. That's why I was so attracted to your product, and that's why I'm so excited to have you as part of our community. It's a huge impact. It's a huge advancement for people if they're in construction. A lot of times, what happened with people that enter into construction is that they typically have worked for somebody else, right, for the longest time,
Oh, yeah.
and their ego becomes really inflated with what they're doing, and they're like, "Oh, I'm too fucking good for this shit," and then
Yeah.
they're forced to like start a business, and so then buddy's uncle does websites, and so they're
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, it's cheap. I'll get that," and
For
you're
sure.
not even expensive. Like I've heard about your prices. It's affordable. So they go to Buddy that does it. They do a bunch of stupid shit. It's
Mhm.
garbage, and then they ultimately end up finding you if they're working with us. But what's really cool is like the product that you put out there really can allow people to like you're not paying 15 grand for a website. I mean, you can probably there are probably $15,000
Yeah.
websites that you can produce, but an entry level website for somebody that's like starting out their business, right? The guy that left his boss that he's like, fuck you, I'm gonna go on my own. He goes on his own. He works for his friends, his family. He thinks he has a business. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, and he's like, I need a website. And so instead of him going to his uncle down the street that maybe does Wix websites or whatever they're called,
Yeah.
how can we share with them that the barrier to entry to working with your company is really not that hard? Because I find a lot of people always think that just because you're building this business, like even people think that I'm unobtainable, right? I'm not. I'm very obtainable. How obtainable is it to work with you to get a website, just an entry level website, somebody who's going on their own instead of going to, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to avoid people making bad decisions, right? We're trying to help them,
100%,
guide
man.
them to making better decisions. What kind of like entry level cost? And I know you work with a lot of Americans as well. So let's maybe identify if it's a USD cost or a Canadian cost. But what kind of entry level cost is it to get an entry level website?
Yeah, 100%, man. So in terms of like custom websites for us, those typically range around for the most companies around like 3 to 5 grand. We also have a package that's called like a starter site, which is essentially the amalgamation combination of our best designs, our best stuff, but allows us to turn it over quickly at around like 2 grand, man. And what I like to kind of frame when I'm chatting with guys on the phone is this is not an expense. This is an investment. Like what we like to do is really get an understanding of their goals, what exactly they're looking for. And like, let's say they're a demolition contractor out of Ohio or out of like Miami or Waynes County or something like that. And they tell me on the calls, I'm like, I usually ask them like, what's the average cost per job, man? Like, I know it ranges depending on what you're doing. Like, oh, like typically for residential, like 10 to 20 grand a job. I'm like, okay, cool. Perfect. And then we get to talking about price. They're like, man, I don't know if I really want to spend 3 to 5 grand on this. And I'm like, okay. So we just had a conversation how you're doing 10 to 20K per project. Typically you want to, double your company by within 2 years. I want us to really reframe like what's important at the end of the day. Like if we, in 2 years, we're at that point where you doubled your business, the fact that you spent maybe an extra couple grand on a website, are you going to be upset at that decision? Or is that going to be thinking like that was probably a good choice? You're going to avoid a lot of mistakes, which happen to guys. And they usually come back to us within 6 months where they'll like go to Fiverr or go to their uncle or to their friend's Bob's
Yeah.
sister's dog's cousin or whatever. And they go through that process and they realize, like there's going to be always a cheaper price. Like I tell people on the phone as they start to give like a price objection, and like, I'm not going to compete on price with you. Like, we are very believing in our service. We do good work. It's something that we can stand behind. And based off of a lot of your goals, man, like this is like 1 to 2 jobs for you based on your margins, man. Like this is paid off. And now you have like the best foundation moving forward. Like, why not avoid time when, you know, you hire Bob's uncle to build you a landscaping website and he doesn't know the difference between landscaping, hardscaping, or anything in between. And he builds you something like shit. And then now Google thinks you're a mess. And now you have to come back and do a whole new 6-month turnaround as you're trying to like start this business. Like the peace of mind and like having someone who's done this for other people, not only is just being a good website designer, but a specific website designer in the industry is how we kind of like justify our prices. And realistically, man, for like, we try to put that
super affordable. Like,
exactly, man. Like, we don't want to, like, we deal with a lot of higher clientele in terms of like bigger commercial civil guys where we'll charge, you know, a pretty penny for websites and digital. But we never wanted to lose touch with what our original mission was, which is like pushing the blue collar industry forward. Like Wes and I really like to think of like, hey, what is something that we could have afforded or thought is like a reasonable investment when we were first getting started up to help us avoid a lot of the problems. When I built my first website on Squarespace and it broke halfway through and it fucked up a lot of things for a few weeks. Like, I want to make sure that we help kids not have that same problem. Kids, guys, girls, older people, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, we want to make sure we have affordable price points that show a good value and allows them to have a really good return on investment. So long story answer, around $2,000 for a starter site, which is still gives you a good foundation, and like $3,000 to $5,000 for most people. And if you want something really kick ass, it's going to blow people out of the water and you have a huge company, like we've done sites, you know, upwards of 30, 40K, and we've knocked it out of the park because, you know, there's deliverables and functionality that people wanted in there. Like, we like to build custom stuff for your business that's going to serve you an ROI. Like, I've turned a lot of people away where I'm like, man, like, to be honest, man, like if you're one person and you have no savings and you have nothing and you don't even know what you're doing and you're just getting out of an apprenticeship, maybe this isn't the best option for you just yet. Maybe you should take a little bit of thoughts about your marketing plan. We have a whole bunch of resources on our website, gets connected with people like you there, Brandon, who can kind of coach you through those initial phases or those mid phases there too as well. And then come back to us when you're ready for an investment. So our big thing is like, when people come in, is like, it's very much like a fit call. Like, I'm not going to work with you unless I think I can actually really, really help you, you know? And our price points reflect that.
Yeah, your price points are super affordable. Like, you know, for example, I'm going to bring up Jory. I don't know where that situation's at, but like, he's a contractor in our community. He is just aimlessly running around as a contractor, really good at doing the work, not really good at running the business. And so him and I started working together, I don't know, a couple months ago. And I mean, he's locked down like almost 100K.
Jory's a beauty man.
In the last couple of weeks. But like, he fucking gave somebody $2,000 for a website, paid in full, got a domain, didn't even get the domain, and then the guy just ghosted. Yeah. And somehow I couldn't even find this guy. Somehow you track the guy down and get the domain back. Don't tell us everything about that, but I'd love to hear, how in the fuck did you find this guy, this mystery man that took Jory's $2,000? Did you get the money back? Any of the money back?
No, I think Buddy ran off, unfortunately. Like, the biggest thing that we wanted to make sure is that we just secured that domain name, because that's what he built his whole brand around. Yeah. And I told Jory in the beginning too, man, I'm like, look, man, like, this is like something that I've dealt with like a lot. Like, leave this with me for about like 2 weeks. I get honestly excited when you can have like a little bit of like a vengeance detective work on these people, man. It's like, that's the biggest thing I hate about this industry. Like, in terms of like agencies, it's like, it's a very low barrier to entry. So it allows like a lot of freelancers or people who don't know what they're doing, or scumbags, to be honest, to like rip people off. And like, when we get an opportunity to kind of like take shit away from them, it fires me up. So like, I was like, Jory, man, no worries, bro. Leave this with me. I've done this many times before. We're gonna get your domain back here. But very much, man, it's like, you just follow breadcrumbs. I think for that guy, like, he was out of Ottawa. I saw it on like some GMB, but it didn't have part of his name. And then I looked him up on LinkedIn. I saw like a review he did on Google Maps. And then I circled back and I saw that he was selling his house, because like he was like on a residential like listing thing. Then I got his like last name, and then attached to that was like a phone number. And then I just texted him being like, hey man, like, I'm looking for a website. And then kind of like ease into that, because like, if someo's a scammer, like, they'll probably be welcome to like scam a little bit more. And then you just kind of flip and be like, to be honest, man, like I'm working on behalf of someone else. Like I just need a domain back. And then you basically like in a legal way, like you dox them, like you tell them their name. Like I saw you had like, you basically say what you've kind of done there just so like, oh shit, this kind of guy knows where I am, where I'm around, what I'm doing. Like not in like, I'm not going to do anything to them, but I'm just saying like, I know where you are, man. If I have to travel up to Ottawa,
you got to make them sweat. You got to make them sweat.
Yeah. You know, like I've done my research. Then he's like, okay, no problem, man. Like I'll get it up. Wouldn't respond. I'd call him. I'd be like, hey, dude, man, like, are you in the country? I see that you're selling your house. And like in the back of his man, he's like, how the fuck does this guy know I'm selling my house? And like, I'm talking to Jory, apparently had to go back to, I don't know where he's from, somewhere, and ended up eventually getting this domain. And then I was like, can you send the site files? The site he built was ass anyway. So I wasn't really too worried about that. I was going to see like what else we can kind of get from him. Yeah. Ended up like then he went full ghost mode. Like I don't even think he had those files anymore, but was good enough where he sent me the transfer for the domain. I told Jory, no problem. We've got it locked in. I just need to make sure that he can't like flip it back. And like with the transfer too, unless they have like a privacy setting, which most of these guys don't really think that far ahead. Mm-hmm. When it transfers over, I have their full name, their address, now their full address, a lot more like sensitive information for it if we have to like keep contacting them. And then you just do like a flip, you like activate it, unactivate it, and then you flip it back to a different registrar. And then even if he wanted to try and take it back or steal it back for whatever reason to squeeze more money out of Jory there, like he wouldn't be able to. So it was definitely like a roundabout process. Typically these take like a week and a half, but they're like, it's shitty because I really do feel for Jory that he wasted $2,000. I think it's something that a lot of guys, almost like a rite of passage when they first get a website. Sometimes they go the cheaper route or for someone who's random or kind of they fluff them up a little bit. And then you start working with people that actually know what they're doing. They kind of take care of you. It's like an expensive lesson, I think, but I'm happy that we were able to kind of get to the final result of like at least getting that domain back because he has emails, branded stuff with that there. And it was a process, man. I haven't talked to that developer again yet. I think he blocked me, but we got where we needed to go. And those are always funny experiences, man. And it happens all the time. Like I probably do that 2-3 times a month for people there.
So you're not only a website professional, you're also a private investigator that can,
big time,
get domains back. That's
exactly a very niche offering. I'm just like a domain level PI, man. That's it.
Yeah, I remember when you did your presentation in the community, and you're like, like we've had to go get people's domains back, and Jory was just like, oh, sweet. And I tried to call this guy, got nothing out of him. I didn't get down to the nitty gritty about like where he was eating and drinking coffee and where he lived and stuff. I mean, you got to do what you got to do to win. And I appreciate that. I love having that type of energy and that type of support in the community. This is a great conversation. We dived into a lot of different things. If you could give somebody a quick takeaway, how do we help people avoid making Jory mistakes? Jory is obviously a casualty to, getting fucking scammed. I spent a ton of money on my first website. Not a bad investment, a life lesson for sure. And that's specifically why we associate ourselves with, your company in our community so we can help people avoid making bad decisions. But like one key takeaway that you could say, hey, don't fucking do this because of X, Y, and Z.
For sure, man. I think like the biggest thing when it comes to, if you're not completely familiar, if you're not 100% confident or familiar with like digital or online, like my number one takeaway or like thing I like to say to people is like surround yourself with people who have done it before or who have some type of guidance in there. So like connecting in communities like yours, Brandon, there, reaching out to agencies like mine, people that have like shown a track record and have actually been in the industry, I think is like super, super important. With the amount of saturation that is in this industry, it's very easy for anyone and their mother to say like, I'm a web developer, because they can pick up Wix, they can pick up Squarespace, and they can basically con people out of money saying that they want to do a good job. And, sometimes it's not even malicious, man. Like sometimes people want to do a good job, but they end up fucking up your business because they don't understand like what they're doing. So like the biggest thing I think for guys who are like looking at digital, looking at online seriously, if you don't have familiarity or like understand like that part of your business, like connect with like actual proven track record experts in the space. Like don't just reach out to the first email that sends you a message about your website, because you probably get 100 of those every day and they're all from random people with random qualifications. Like connect with people in good communities like yours, connect with people who are branded in the space, or just talk to your friends, man. Like if you have a friend or a buddy who has a really sick website, like ask them where they got it. Like ask them about the process before you pull trig and like send someone $2,000. Because like a lot of these guys, like even the guy who took Jory's domain, man, like I feel sorry for Jory, because you could tell this guy was like a sweet talker, man, and they can make you believe a lot of sunshines and rainbows there, man. But if no one knows about him and they have no reviews and he's just a sweet talker, like that's when you kind of put up the red flag and be like, maybe I should ask someone, or just, you know, connect someone through like a referral or reference. Like I think that's always the safest spot. And just, again, surrounding yourself with people who have done something similar in the space so that you don't have to make those mistakes.
You're incredibly humble. You don't really like overly promote yourself, which is great, but I'm going to promote you.
Respect, brother. I appreciate you.
So if anybody needs a website, you're in construction, I don't care if you're an electrician, a plumber, a framer, a drywaller, a general contractor, a home builder, whatever the fuck you do. If you're in construction, you do heavy equipment, you got to reach out to Blue Collar Marketing. They are hands down the number one company that I would recommend to do any website development, any creative within that space, primarily because they do it every day. And like we talked about earlier about the tile guy, it's the same fucking thing. Do you want the guy that does it from the corner of his desk and give you a shitty job or take your money and steal your domain? Or do you want a guy that's actually going to make you win? You know, like invest with people like Chris here. Chris, where can people find you if they're trying to link up with you and get the service?
Yeah, 100%, man. So reach out to us. Appreciate the kind words too, man. Definitely appreciate that, brother. No,
you're always like that. You're always super humble. You don't really promote your business. You're like, yeah, you could go like pick X, Y, and Z. It's like, what the fuck? No, pick me. You know?
Yeah, I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate you. But in terms of getting in contact with us here, man, bluecollarmarketing.ca is the best place to go on our website, learn more about us, or check out our Instagram. All of our handles, Instagram, LinkedIn, you see it there in the chat there on the stories, bluecollarmarketing.ca. We always post on socials. We're super big into media and content, so you can kind of check in with what we're doing. And then elsewise too, if you ever want to talk to me personally or Wes, it's going to be Chris at bluecollarmarketing.ca or Wes at bluecollarmarketing.ca, and we're always happy just to chat. And even if we don't work together, our biggest thing is just making sure people are doing well. So I'm always happy to give advice, track down domains. That's kind of like a side passion project of mine. So if you have one that needs tracked down, let me know.
Private investigator.
Yeah.
Get a badge.
Yes, sir.
Get a little badge. Blue collar private investigator.
I'll wear a little sheriff's hat when I'm talking about
yeah, fucking right. I love it, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate you on today. It's a great episode. This is our 4th episode. They're getting better each and every time. We got great guests. We got some contractors coming up. We got more educators from the community coming up. So I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Make sure to share this with anybody that you know that could benefit from this and potentially get a website, needs a website, or just wants to improve their business. We are here to help contractors no matter where you are. Just drop into my DMs. You can also find me at _contractor coach on Instagram. I greatly appreciate all of this, Chris. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate you.